24 years ago, we immediately discovered that Horsehead schools were especially well known for their art and music programs. Today, I am here on behalf of hundreds of concerned students, alumni, parents, and voters to tell you that these very strengths are now at risk of significant and irreversible decline. The recent decision to first place a second band teacher at the high school and then reverse course and keep only one threatens the future of music education in Horseheads. Not only was the full-time position approved by the board and the taxpayers, but it was considered necessary by everyone involved. However, the administration has made the devastating decision to ignore the voters, to ignore you, the Board of Education, and to ignore our district budget, which I have a copy of, and to continue with an insufficiently staffed band program. Now, we've been told this has to do with numbers, and the numbers are what erroneously appear to justify this decision. But consider these facts. Elmira has one teacher for 90 band students. It's actually in their contract that if it exceeds 100, they add a second teacher. Sorry. Corning Painted Post has 3 full-time band teachers for 150 students, a ratio of 50 to 1. I have that information here as well as in the public record. Horseheads has around 120 to 130 students, and I say around because nobody knows exactly the enrollment for the fall. Not the administration, not our principal, certainly not me, but regardless of the eventual number, one teacher for our band program is far worse than neighboring districts. And the fact that our administration is taking advantage of lower numbers due to COVID as part of their justification is an embarrassment to all of us. Consider also the entire scope of our amazing high school band program and the enormous responsibilities beyond 2 bands and marching ensemble, all of which require more than one full-time teacher. Community service via Harmony Bridge, personalized band instruction through lessons and performance opportunities like pit orchestra and grad band, and of course advancement of our student musicians at the local and state level through NYSBA and NYSBTA. All of this can only be realized with multiple full-time dedicated teachers, and all of this is what makes Horseheads music education so special and truly student-focused. At a recent meeting, the administration's response to these concerns was that Central Square only had one teacher for 125 students. But we are not Central Square, and we are not satisfied being average. We can be better, and we demand to be better. Finally, let me remind you that this isn't just about band. There's a recent peer-reviewed journal article in the Journal of Educational Psychology that I have a copy of that further connects music education to scholastic achievement. Band students excel in academics, and thus any erosion of our music program will negatively impact the overall academic performance of our students, both now and in the future. I ask that the board correct these egregious errors in judgment and secure a bright future for our youth by voting against the transfer of the high school music teacher in Section I of the HR recommendations. Don't be bullied by loud voices from the administration or unsubstantiated numbers, and certainly don't let me bully you. Investigate for yourselves, gather the facts.
If you could wrap it up, Randy.
Benchmark, and most importantly, do what's best for our children.
Thank you for your comments. Thanks for keeping it to 3 minutes.
Parent in this school district for the past 19 years. Until now, I have never felt the need to address the administration, let alone the board, with any concerns. As I am sure you are aware, several concerned band parents met last week with Dr. Douglas, Mr. Gill, and Mrs. Earle to discuss the recent staffing changes within the music department. Specifically, we questioned why we do not have the 2 high school band directors we voted for in the budget and were promised. We were given 2 reasons. The first was that the numbers do not support a second band director. When we asked what the magic number is at which we need 2 band directors, they said there is none. On March 18, 2021, when the Board of Education voted to fill the second band director position, the band enrollment was at 123 students. At the meeting last week, we were told the current enrollment number is 119 students, so we are currently only 4 students less than when the second teacher was approved. Regardless, this should not be a numbers game. I think all the parents would agree that whether there are 100 or 150 band students, we need 2 band directors. That job is just too much for one person. When we cited the teacher-student ratios for other bands in the area, Dr. Douglas said he would, quote, look into it. It felt as though he was giving us the runaround, considering a parent had sent him those numbers via note a week prior. The second reason we were given was that it was necessary to move one high school band director to fill the vacant intermediate school spot. When we asked why the intermediate school position hadn't been filled, they said 3 people had turned down their offers and they couldn't find anyone. I am here to suggest they did not exercise due diligence in filling that position and are perhaps instead exercising some personal vendetta, which seems to be the only explanation left. It seems to me that if the position had been filled, we could continue with the original plan to have the 2 high school band directors as co-directors, and the problem would be resolved. If you proceed with the current plan as it is, the students will receive inadequate attention, and the Horseheads music program as a whole will suffer. Board of Education, I ask you, please, do not approve the music transfer under letter I of HR recommendations tonight. To my mind, music is the most important thing a kid can learn in life, other than being a good human. My hope is the Horseheads administration continues in its support of the arts and finds a way to employ 2 high school band directors in what is an extremely demanding and time-consuming job, and in so doing, give the students and teachers the support they need to succeed. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Courtwright. I live at 1905 Woods Edge Drive in Millport. My daughter Tressa is one of the drum majors in the marching ensemble this year. She was introduced to the trumpet at the end of 3rd grade and hasn't put it down since, unless it was to play French horn, mellophone, saxophone, clarinet, or piano. She will be applying to the Manhattan School of Music, the Eastman School of Music, the Boston Conservatory, among others, with a major in French horn performance. She dreams of performing in the orchestral pits of Broadway one day. I find this highly ironic, as the 3rd grade was when my music career ended. I was told by my music teacher to mouth the words to Silent Night at the school play, the Christmas play. She said that I was going to ruin the whole show if I sang. She did this in front of the whole class. I have not sung or played played a musical instrument since that day. This is the difference that just one teacher can have on the life of a person. The Horseheads School District has been known for its strong music program for many years. The teachers we have are second to none. I have personally seen the extra effort they put in to ensure the success of all the students in our district. However, asking just one teacher to handle the workload required to be a band instructor at the high school is just too much. This is why the budget was approved for 2 instructors in the first place. I am told that in the brief time that there were 2 band instructors at the high school, students were able to have smaller lesson groups and more personalized attention. This also allowed some students the ability to participate in other groups such as brass ensemble and jazz ensemble. Unfortunately, COVID severely hampered the music program and the interim instructor position disappeared. We can't let the pandemic destroy our music program. I implore the school board to do everything in its power to ensure the music program continues not only to survive, but thrive in the Horseheads School District. I feel that filling the 2nd band instructor position is critical to the future success of the music program in the high school. Thank you very much for your time and attention in this matter.
Thank you for the comments. You can go next.
Good evening. My name is Edison Morera. I live in 529 Meadowbrook Parkway West, Horses, New York. I've been a member of this community since 2004, and my kids have been attending the school district since 2008. I had to start by saying that at the beginning of this journey, the journey I'm talking about is educating my kids, I was skeptical about the education from a public system. My wife and I thought hard on this decision, but we decided to go for it. My oldest son just graduated from high school, and I cannot tell you how proud I am of being part of this community and the school district. I have come to realize that the school district is not the buildings or infrastructure, but the people that are part of it. My son was involved in multiple programs through the years, but the one that came close to our family was the music program. Through the classes and the extracurricular activities, my son received the best mentorship, education, and memories. I'm here just to ask you in a few words to keep supporting the music program, to plan for the best for the students, as we're facing uncertainties in the coming year that may lead us to plan for the worst. I'm asking you to plan for the best scenario, because even the worst scenario can be turned into a good scenario that our kids will benefit from. Please keep searching for that extra full-time band teacher for the high school. I'm a firm believer that we have a great music program that taught my son independence, loyalty, hard work, leadership, and it will allow him to go to college with a firm foundation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sergio Morera Antipara, 529 Meadowbrook Parkway West, recent graduate. I believe it goes without saying to say that I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak tonight. I thank the board and Dr. Douglas for managing the district and doing it well. I would like to speak on my experience in music education. Many people may not understand why I am so passionate about music. To me, it's simple: the district's music program. I have been in both band and choir during my time as a student, but tonight I would like to comment on our instrumental program. In my experience, band functions best with two teaching positions at the high school. I have been drum major and soloist for the field band, as well as treasurer for the wind ensemble. I have worked closely in the past with instrumental educators and can confirm, without a doubt, that there needs to be two personnel at the high school. Granted, the band community understands that enrollment has fallen due to COVID. However, from a former student's point of view, this only enhances the need for a second teaching position. Worst case scenario, enrollment falls and restrictions are applied. This leaves the program in the 2020 to 2021 model of instruction. With room scheduling difficulties, I myself have witnessed how half of present students have been left without a professional to shape their musical experience at 12-foot distancing. At 6-foot distancing, this problem was mostly resolved. However, we do not know how the guidelines will change throughout the year. As the administration says, we must be prepared for the worst. And in this case, a second teacher will be able to provide the quality of instruction to students who have been suffering through hybrid and remote musical learning. Regardless of how distancing requirements change, one teacher is simply not enough to give students the individual attention needed after such a hard hit to music. Having the position there would help bring the program back to pre-pandemic numbers. Instead of expecting the program to recover by itself and then providing another teaching position, I believe it should be sought after as soon as possible. This would even cover the best case scenario where restrictions are lifted and enrollment rises. We are aware that the district has tried to fill the music education position recently in the intermediate school. However, it is under my understanding that there were few candidates available, and this is what led to the decision to enact the music transfer in Section I of the HR recommendations. I will not for one moment say that it is not the district's right to move personnel, but as a student with experience in both band and choir, I believe that this transfer will not be. Teaching certifications say that they will be, but the two, band and choir, are completely different ballgames, requiring different skill sets. However, I digress. The other option I would like the district to consider, perhaps, is to actively search for a permanent, full-time second high school teaching position if they continue to approve Section I. I understand that the job market is not as
10 more seconds, Sergio, sorry.
But I believe in the administration. As they have done recently with bringing back the field band, they have shown that they want what is best, and I hope that they will make the right decision.
Great. Thank you for your comments.
I'm Neha Kudba. I was in the band program for 4 years. I recently graduated and will now be attending music school. And I don't have much to say, but I would just like to elaborate a little bit
Could you just state your address too? Sorry about that.
Oh, sorry. 110 Esther's Way, Horseheads, New York, 14845.
Thank you.
And yeah, I would just like to elaborate a little bit, and I have a student perspective in the band program, and I'd really just like to reiterate what everyone else has been saying, just that the Horseheads band program is really unique in how successful it is, and it doesn't always get a lot of attention. But the Horseheads band program, we consistently send students to Conference All-State, and this year as well, we sent students to All-Eastern. And in case you don't know, Conference All-State is, it's the best high school band in the state, and then All-Eastern is the best high school band in the Northeast. And Horseheads is consistently sending students to those programs. And this year, I had the privilege of attending those. And something that really stood out to me is I met students from, I don't mean to disparage Horseheads, but I met students from far wealthier school districts. And something that was notable is that they were the only students from their district present. And every single year, Horseheads is consistently sending multiple people. And I think under those circumstances, I don't see why you would deny this program resources, and I urge you all to consider putting a little bit more into this program. Thanks.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Hi there, good evening. My name is Debbie Johnson, and I live at 11 Woodside Drive in Big Flats. Both my husband and I are both teachers at Horseheads Middle School. However, tonight I am here as a parent, more specifically, as a band parent. My husband would be here as well, but he is out helping with the marching band as they begin their long-awaited season tonight. We have 2 children in the district, Leah, who will be a 6th grader, and Nathan, who is an incoming freshman this year. Both of our children have been involved with band since the 4th grade when they began playing their instruments. And I cannot say enough about what the Horseheads band experience has meant to them, but perhaps more specifically, and how the programs have shaped and guided them to excel. This past year, band was difficult due to the COVID protocols, as well as the cancellation of all concerts and marching band. It was tough, but as everyone else, we looked ahead to this coming school year, when things would hopefully be so much better. So I have to admit, as a mom to an incoming freshman, I was very disappointed when I learned that a second band position at the high school was not going to be filled again this year for a 2nd year in a row, due to the current number of students signed up for band. I'm asking you to please reconsider filling this position, and to also keep in mind our Horseheads mission statement: explore, empower, excel. If we truly believe in our mission statement and want our band program to excel, we need to fill this position in order to make up for the reduced instruction the students received over the last year and a half. By filling this position, a position that has already been budgeted for, we will help our students to excel again, rather than waiting to fill a quota. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Go ahead.
My name is Mark Sorensen. I'm here tonight on behalf of my parents, residents of 11 Livesay Road, Horseheads. I'm also a Horseheads alum. I'm here because I'm concerned about the direction of the music program in Horseheads, a program I was a part of when I was in school. In general, it sets bad precedent to have teachers instructing an area of music in which they have no experience teaching or formal training. This is not what is best for students. This is entirely avoidable if staffing decisions are made with care and with the input of other music faculty. In short, vocal students should not be taught by an instrumental teacher. I don't know how that's not more obvious to the superintendent and the Board of Education. Having certification in a branch of teaching is not the same as having spent an undergraduate and graduate career preparing to teach that subject. This would be an irresponsible use of tax dollars. We can do better, and our students deserve better. We have been told that this is not a budgetary issue. Then I asked the board why for the last 2 school years have taxpayers approved a 14-member music faculty, but we have only 13 music teachers. What is the district doing with that unused money the taxpayers approved? The district itself recognized the need for a second high school band position. We need that 14th position filled now with a full-time teacher to meet the needs of Horsehead students. We're falling behind neighboring districts, and with the number of activities our band director has introduced to students both during the school day and after, it demands 2 teachers to maintain. We are not interested in the program surviving. We are interested in it thriving. We can do better, and our students deserve better. I asked the Board of Education to not approve the music transfer in Section I of the HR recommendations. If you fail to act, the students' academic careers will suffer.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Hello, I'm Michelle Kudva, address 110 Esther's Way in Horseheads. And everyone really has already spoken what I would have wanted to speak regarding the band program. But one thing that wasn't really mentioned that I could add is during COVID, band time was the most happiest time in our house. Because it wasn't a very happy time. And certainly depression, sinks in when you're stuck at home for so long. And just hearing them play their instruments and seeing the same teacher, it just really kept our household alive and going. And I never really knew how valuable music was until I saw, trying times, music really kept us going. And so I just don't want to lose the emphasis on music when I saw how valuable it is. And that's all.
Thank you.
Gordon Gillette, 644 Steege Hill, Big Flats. I made some notes, but apparently they're on a totally different subject. They're actually the history of the Horseheads band program. I first want to ask, is the superintendent and the president of the board not here tonight? You are the superintendent. Thank you. I'm sorry for that.
The president is out traveling, unfortunately.
Okay, yes. The president should be here. I was the band director at Horseheads High School from 1970, September 1970, to June 2003. That's 33 years. I got to point some things out first before I make a statement. I've spoken in front of the board many times. I have stood in front of the board many times. Where did this 3-minute limit come from? You don't want to hear what I got to say, or I got to condense it to 3 minutes? Or do you people have a TV show you want to watch at home or something?
I'm just following board policy.
That's board policy,
board
3
policy
minutes?
Is 3 minutes. It's board policy 2370. It was set up by the board. We have to follow the rules.
Okay, thank you. I certainly don't remember that rule when I was here 70 to 2003. Now, Brian, did I have you as a student? You were not in band, but both your sisters and your brother were in band. Yes. Well, when I started in 1970, I came from Corning. I taught 3 years in Corning. I had 47 students in the band program. In 1992, I had 207 students on the field in a competitive marching band. A couple things. Number one, I've been very fortunate. I had wonderful students, wonderful administration, wonderful board. I've been fortunate to win all kinds of awards for the marching band, win all kinds of awards for the wind ensemble through the years. But if you took me and put me in a intermediate or middle school job, a vocal, I would fail. I would fail the job. I would end up leaving. Unfortunately, the state of New York gives people, graduates, a diploma that says you're a music teacher, so therefore you can teach.
About 30 more seconds.
Oh, wow.
You already have 3 minutes. I'm giving you.
Yeah, this is so unfortunate. I'm just, this blows my mind. Okay, I just won't even go into that. I suggest that you hire a half-time teacher and for the high school, and if you're able to, you also make that a full-time position as soon as you can to keep the person here. And lastly, I recommend that that person be a brass player, because you do not have a brass player in the total faculty of the Horseheads High School, or Horseheads School District. Thank you for your 3 minutes.
Thank you for the comments. Thank you for your years of service. And I saw many competitions, and they were amazing shows. So thank you. Appreciate it. Questions, comments? Right here, maybe. Yep. Center. Yep.
Hi, I'm Susie Schneider, 175 Scenic Drive. I have 2 children who one is in Horseheads High School right now, Kent Schneider. He will be one of the drum majors for the marching band this year. And my other son, Curtis, was a 2019 grad, and he was a drum major his senior year. I've heard a lot of impassioned speech, which was pretty inspiring, particularly from the students and from some of our graduates. And so I'm coming not only as a parent and a resident of Horseheads, but I am an admissions professional. I've worked in selective college admissions for over 20 years, both at Duke and at Cornell. I read and help to decide on college admissions applications on over 4,000 students every year. And so I just want to tell you how important it is when we, on the other side, see your seniors presenting themselves to college admissions offices. Not only are they taking band or choir as a class, and some are doing a couple of different bands and also sticking in choir when they can, but they also have the leadership opportunities that come with things like the jazz band. They have hours of service that come with things like Harmony Bridge. They not only participate in NYSSMA, but they excel in NYSSMA. They become all-state. These things really matter. The quality of your students who comes out comes from the quality of the teaching that they get and the hours, and sometimes it's above and beyond hours we know that they do with the music department for the shows that they put on, for the hours of performance, and much of their own personal time, which we appreciate. I have seen one son go through with one instructor, and was so pleased when I saw this spring that there would be 2, because my junior would have 2 years of 2 band instructors, which would only allow him to become a better music student and have more leadership opportunities, but not just for my son, but for all the other striving students who dream of maybe not doing music as a major, but it's something that's really important to them and gives them leadership opportunities that they may not find in other areas in Horseheads High School. So anything that you can do to continue to support the depth and breadth of the opportunities for your students is to the betterment of the students themselves and, of course, to the entire community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other questions, comments? We're about at the 30-minute mark. If there were more, the board could extend it. If we're good, we can move on. We definitely appreciate all the comments. I have been personally involved with the music program for 20 plus years, and probably over a dozen in the marching band, so I know the passion. Thank you for doing what you do. I mean, and thank you to the music program. So we appreciate all the comments tonight, so thank you. We will go on to item 5, report from superintendent. Dr. Douglas.
Yes, thank you, Vice President Lynch. In regards to a variety of things, we've just had our architect come in. Are they ready? Okay. In regards to that, that will be a presentation on an upcoming capital project in December. We have some discussion on opening of schools, but let me first address what we were hearing some comments about. Although I certainly support a variety of comments, I don't necessarily support some of the insinuations. And that's okay. We can always have a difference of opinion. Personnels will not be discussed. I think everybody did a wonderful job. We did have a meeting, and I believe the gentleman, I did not catch your name, but our former director also hit sort of the nail right on the head. And that's one of the things that came out in the meeting, is that in the intermediate areas, we do not know how schools are going to open even as of tonight. That we already committed that with the staff that we have at the high school, just like when we were up approaching 145 to 150, that's when the position came to be. And at this point, we would be moving forward with a halftime position, which was explained to everybody else. And then we will see how the numbers, like I think Ms. Provine, I think it is, mentioned. And I know you mentioned something the other night about a potential candidate. Please have them apply. The reason being is we have done exhaustive searches. My HR department has gone out, and when we have issues, we go out again. So anybody that knows somebody, please, we've been searching for 4 months. But we will be putting in at least a halftime and holding the other halftime pending where the numbers are. Because if we have another year like last year, the concern is the numbers will go even lower, and we do not want what our kids had to endure, because that good part about being home and having that music, they should be here 3 feet apart and having the musical experience, even if we have to spread them out in this auditorium. But there is also one thing I talked about. We're advocating for instrumental, but we're forgetting about another side of our music program, which is highly overpopulated, and that's our vocal program. They get no lessons. They have been cut just as well, and nobody's advocated for them. So tonight, I have asked the board, we are putting in a full-time vocal person. So with that and the numbers, as long as both come up, we will have 2 additional pieces. And over the past 6-7 years, over $450,000 of support has been put in either to the field band, the music program, or to positions by this board, the past boards, and myself, and we will continue to do that. Right now, I hope I do not have to say every kid is going to be in a mask 6 feet apart because numbers are rising. That's the problem. If the numbers rise and we put the kids through that again, I believe we lose more. We don't want to. So we are going to do everything in our power to try to keep it at 3 feet. That is what we talked about and committed to the other night. That is what I've talked about to the board. That is what we will go out and advertise to. And we may not be able to get that vocal person until middle of the year and so forth, but we are trying to do it. And if it's only a halftime person, we will look at a halftime. But the whole program, vocal and music, needs to be supported. And so I'm sure that the board has already talked about this as its personnel. We will not go further with that. And the decisions of transfers and internal personnel are left at the administrative level with the authorization and tacit approval by the board by contract. So in reference to the gentleman, I think he hit the nail right on the head. Like we said, at least a halftime person to try to get it started. Sort of like what was mentioned, what is the number? I said, I don't know what the number is, but if we can keep it going in the right direction and not have it going back, we will start looking for a full-time position as soon as we are assured at what direction we are going with. But that has always been the commitment of the district. That has always been my commitment. And I believe, at least over my tenure, I have improved every single part of different music programs wherever I've been, just like athletic programs, just like educational programs. We still have work to do with COVID, and later today, we'll talk about that after our presentation. So that's where we are at right now. I've informed the board. Personnel discussions are between the board and the superintendent, and that's where they will reside. Any questions from the board? At this time, Jeff, are you ready? I would like to turn it over to Hunt Architects and to the board on follow-up information from the last meeting.
You want to start talking about it? Yeah. There's no popcorn dancing across the screen. So.
That's fine. We get the image every day.
You want to use the mic for us?
All right. So just to set the stage, you know, we were at, a couple weeks ago, we were here at your retreat, and we went through several different scenarios and different models of how the district could be organized. So during that retreat, we basically settled back to maintain the existing organization of the district. And we basically spent time from there, the last 2 weeks, to redevelop those plans in a little bit better detail and to, you know, sort through some of the nuances of that. And just a minute here, I'm going to close something. There. This is what I want. So I'm just going to run through those plans, and some of this you've seen, but we fine-tuned a little bit. This is Big Flats, the existing building as it is. This is how it would look with this scenario and the closing of Center Street and reassigning of the students to the 3 remaining elementary schools. So the blue represents the additions, and yellow represents renovations during one time period and orange another time period. And what you can see here, I'm going to just zoom in a little bit, is that, in order to do this blue addition out back here, we have to create a fire lane around it. And that's part of what we need to further develop. So the idea here is that the existing cafeteria would become the library, the existing gym would become the cafeteria and kitchen, and there'd be a new gymnasium built that would be much larger than the existing gymnasium, as you can see. It would be still an elementary gym, but it would be able to, host practices for modified and different levels a little bit better, and certainly function for youth programs better. So one of the things we were doing during this time also is working on a budget, right? We had to look at estimates for all this work and see how it all fit together. So, all of that's being developed as we speak here, but we do have a snapshot of what that looks like. And some of the decisions that we're presenting to you today are in response to what we're seeing with the budget. The goal was to try to be at a similar amount as the last referendum. Okay, even though costs keep increasing, we're trying to stay within that target area. So here we would be looking at the blue edition that's developed here. This would be a future edition, and we're looking at this core yellow space as being able to be done in this first referendum. So then we move on to Gardner Road. This is the Gardner Road existing building, the front here down on the page. And the idea here is we would need to add some classrooms off the back side. And part of this planning, I didn't mention before, is to right-size existing classrooms. Some of these older buildings have many classrooms that are undersized for their program. So the future edition kind of deals with that right-sizing. Okay, that's why we're identifying the locations for that, so we're planning that in. The first edition really just accommodates increased enrollment at this building. And then again, we're looking at renovation of the core space, the cafeteria/auditorium, the gymnasium, and the library. The classroom renovation to right sizing them would come in a future renovation or future referendum. Now we go over to Ridge Road here. Let me just zoom out a little bit. So this is the existing building, and Ridge Road's down on the page here. Okay, so then the next is going to show you how we would add on to this. And the scale jumps on you a little bit, but the idea is we would bring a wing off the back and then angle it the same direction as this classroom wing. The idea is to enlarge the gymnasium, and we were looking at doing that at the cafeteria location, turning the gym into a cafeteria with a stage. The library would be the kitchen because it's right connected to that, and this would all be right-sized to meet the enrollment of the school. And then the library would be renovated over in this area. So again, the idea of this first referendum, or I guess the second referendum as we speak about what's going on now, would be the addition and this yellow core renovation space. Now here also, we recognize there's some challenges with drop-off and pick-up and all of that. So, and with this addition, it would even further complicate that. So we looked at putting in a loop out front here off of Ridge Road, and this is shown as buses, but it could also be parent drop-off, and we could flip-flop that. The idea is to make both locations work for either buses or parents, and then adding some parking. If anybody has questions along the way, feel free to stop me, okay? Otherwise, I'm going to just keep rolling through. Now we go to the high school plan, and this is what will be the existing plan after the current renovation work is completed. First floor and second floor. And then what we're looking at here is renovating the south wing. completely. That's not in the current referendum. This would be in the second referendum. And to create a large gymnasium space, it would basically combine your two existing gymnasiums into one, and it'd have new locker rooms and support spaces around it. The other part of this is we're looking at completing locker rooms out at the stadium, and that was always planned to be in a future referendum, and we're trying to fit that into the second referendum.
Yeah, if I can add that additional piece for locker rooms, also storage, and absolutely building storage, because practically we do on the back side of the stadium, as well as the competition field. So we do have a variety of new room. The third phase is basically, if you can circle the other area, the renovation of the auditorium, the music suite, the gym, we add more space for music, as well as tech suite, and the oriented pool, but it has to be done in the third project down the road, so we cannot be paid until after 2024.
Yep, very good. And then the other thing here I want to point out is this front parking lot area is not in the current project. You know, your entrance drive and the end of it here, where we did work at the cafeteria is, but the middle is not. So we looked at doing that within this referendum also. And then this is the second floor of that. So the plan would be to have a second floor training track area and wrestling and weight room facility up there. So those are the plans. Now, the tough part is the budgeting. We looked at this and looked at what the cost would be for all this work, and everything identified to you tonight as that second referendum that we're planning for. I'm going to pull up a spreadsheet here. We've been very active with this, okay? But last referendum was around 94 million. If you look at this lower right corner here, right now, we're looking at about 98 for what I've shown here tonight. So we're getting close. There's some more work if we need to get to that number. Our plan is, when we get to the scheduling of this, let me open that up too, the plan is for your next meeting in August 19th, to really bring financial data of what that would look like. So we've done the budgeting here, we did the work on the plans, and now we're going to run it through the financial advisors and see how that would be funded and paid for. So, you know, we don't want to get too excited about where that number is yet until we run all those numbers and make sure that it works financially. The goal is always to maximize the state aid and to make it as fully aided as possible, although everything we're talking about won't receive aid completely, but there's ways to sequence it and schedule it to maximize that amount. So this schedule is the expedited schedule that we talked about last time, which would target the December 7th referendum. And it just targets the different things that we need to do to hit that. And tonight is an update. You know, this is kind of a quick update from our last meeting on the potential scope and the budgets. And then, like I said, the next one would be the financial presentation of this scope. And if there's anything that you feel like we've lacked or that we're not including in the second referendum, we'd like to hear about it sooner than later.
One of the things that we want to see up here that we could bring back is the middle school parking lot.
Yes, great point.
In addition, high school students in the parking lot, because that causes parking issues. We don't want that.
Right.
That's that facility and sort of out here.
Oh, the maintenance building side over in here?
Yes, the maintenance building side on the high school, the parking lot at the middle school, because all of that would be needed to be redeveloped.
So right now, we don't have the maintenance area developed in this budgeting. The front is. For the intermediate school, middle school, I do it's not as developed as a plan, but we basically include a budget to redo this complete parking lot on this side and redevelop the drop-off area there. So we had two different ideas that were being circulated and designed, and we can work through that. For right now, though, we've budgeted a complete redo of that parking.
Other things that the board can think of, the hard part is we have to sort of piece our way through it to right size. And the issue on Center Street is in order to get aid, you have to develop the need for room space. So there's a crux in the way that they calculate state aid. By the closure of the oldest building in the district and utilizing it for adults when there's major lead abatement and asbestos abatement, it puts the students in a better situation across the district without usually putting a vast amount on the community. The good part is this last project that we did at $94 million roughly ended up having zero impact to the local tax base with the money that we put in. And tonight, you're going to see that the district's tax rate has decreased almost 4% just this year. So those are all good financial steads as we're still improving, our financials are improving, and our housing structure in the district are improving. And that is benefit of the remodeling and reconstruction of the school so far, and will continue to do so. That our trending path would be to continue down that road, that the second project, although we can't say it because we've got to finalize the numbers, could be potentially at the same cost or a little bit under, a little bit more than what we projected in the last project, but ultimately when you get the build out, could be potentially, again, nothing to the local tax base except the money that we have in reserves. Still too early to say, but I want to commend the board from the past for their foresight, because this has put us in a situation where we have virtually been able to do this reconstruction at this time, and hopefully to continue on with over 83% of our community's support on this first project to enhance the overall atmosphere of the district and bring it into line with all of our other districts that have already done reconstruction. Any questions?
That's all I had for tonight. Like the next meeting with the financials will really help, tell the story.
For the board, how are we? On track with what you thought and the expectations? It sort of goes from 2017, where we're coming forward with the plan at one point for Capital Project 1. This is sort of Capital Project 2, and the third project is continuing on at the elementary to get the rest and resize, as well as finish up the full renovation of the high school and updating of the intermediate school and middle school, depending on the structure of the district. So hopefully no stone has been left unturned over a 15-year period. And at the ultimate end, the district should be doing projects every 5 years with the money coming off the books after 15 years, so that the upkeep of the district will be going on year after year after year, 5 to 30 years down the road, and hopefully with very little to absolutely no impact to the local community. For the investment now that we put in at all the other schools, we're finally getting the money to come back here, and also lower our tax rate. Most people don't know it, but we are one of the lowest tax rates in the southern tier. Only Watkins Glen is a little lower, but if we keep going on in a trajectory, there's a possibility we could pass Watkins Glen in the next couple of years. So hopefully that's all good news, and hopefully we'll strengthen all of our programs in time as we go through. Anything else? So Jeff, if you can, for the next board meeting, really hone in on the overall project, numbers. We got I think we're going to try to adjust it to the evening of the 17th instead of the 19th, because we've got some conflicts. And then if we need to, we have another potential of a meeting on August 31st and 1st to get ready for September 9th. And the reason why for the audience, you have to go according to a certain timeline like he was talking. We are gearing up for a potential referendum vote on December 7th. Oh, I hope I'm talking loud enough, but we are gearing up for a potential referendum vote of the community on December 7th. Why is it important to get out there as quick as possible? Because interest rates are at an all-time low, and the quicker we can get to it, we end up saving money. And our first project, we projected the interest rates to be at 4%. I think we did our bonding, and we're starting to do our bonding at 0.002%, which is extremely low and a good finance for the district and community. Anything else, Jeff?
Nope.
Still on track on the expedited schedule versus the delayed schedule, which puts it out to February. Thumbs up by the board. You have your marching.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Thank you.
So we'll move on to item 5.03, opening of schools update. Dr. Douglas.
This is the fun topic I don't think anybody really wants to talk about in any district across New York State, especially at the Department of Health by Dr. Howard Zucker. So, there's a lot of confusion out there across the state because for the past 2 months or more, we've been being told by our governor as well as by the Director of Health that guidance would be coming on the safe opening of schools. We were given that guidance as late as last Tuesday night. Guidance will be forthcoming within the next 24 to 48 hours. So you can imagine our surprise at 5 o'clock on a Wednesday night that all of a sudden the Director of Health at the state level said there will be no guidance coming. The problem that causes is there's actually, and I have to commend the Commissioner of Education, there is a statutory requirement within public health law that says it is his responsibility to provide that guidance and any regulations that go forward. So, where are we at? Right now, we are in conversations with many districts and the County Executive Department of Health in both Steuben and Chemung County. They're also meeting with like Schuyler, Tioga, and everything else. And their determination is that they're probably going to come out with a series of recommendations. They're not there yet. But the problem is those recommendations without an edict means that everybody will be coming to the board and saying, well, you don't have to follow those recommendations. You can do this. Board members, you can do this. I can tell you, no matter what, certain issues are 50-50 at best. We cannot leave it to individuals to decide. It will ultimately have to be decided by the board. What's the guidance that we will go by if the state shirks its responsibilities and we get no direction? That would be the board telling me the what they expect and me doing the how. I'm hoping that it does not come to that, so we are asking for a little time. As far as reopening right now, my conversations with the county executive, and he has been absolutely steadfast trying to work for the best interest of all students and communities, is that we buy a little time. We know we are planning to be open 5 days a week. We know that remote will only be used for forced closures at this point. We know that if we are busing, because kids will be shoulder to shoulder, we will, as a district, require masking on busing, and that students always have the ability to mask at a moment's notice and carry masks with them. We don't know if there will be a requirement to mask indoors or outdoors. At this time, that's where they are trying to assist us. We don't know whether or not masking will be part of athletics or music, or if we will be 3 feet, 6 feet, or 12 feet yet. If you go by CDC guidance, which is going to be the recommendation, they haven't really given any recommendations. That's the problem. And our county executive has been very good in saying that in those areas we will all try to benefit and work. And at the end of last year, they did. I think we were lucky to have our first concert, which was at graduation. So in general, what happens is it's still too early to tell, and we need to know because time is running out. But I want people to know that we are open 5 days a week, definitely right now 3 feet apart. But the community should know cases are going up. The school district does not mandate vaccinations, nor will the school district. That is a personal choice unless the powers to be say otherwise. But it's not the school or the county doing any mandates. Those are options. At this time, we're waiting on any type of masking guidance. And did I miss anything, Katie or Tony, from what we talked about earlier? I know one thing, just because I got music here, I'm asking for the bell covers to be purchased because if they're 3 feet, any ounce of precaution with woodwind instruments would probably be beneficial. Because we don't know about masking, I understand from the music directors that there is a mask that can be used with instruments, and we will purchase those as well to try to give the best take, even if they're spread out among here. The hard part is we will have to be hypervigilant. The one thing I can think of when it comes to performances or competitions in those areas, let's learn a little from the Olympics, right? People masked so that they would try to prevent, whether you agree with it preventing or not, neither here nor there. It's just an ounce of precaution. But when you're sidelined, when you're practicing, you could possibly mask. We're waiting for that guidance. But when you're in competitions, on the field or in performances, maybe you wouldn't have your mask. I don't know how you sing choral mask. You can, but it will be muffled, just like if you have bell covers on, the music will be muffled, and it's different for everybody's ears. But it's the same thing, whether it's PE, if you're inside versus outside. The big thing is, I trust our staff when it's as safe as possible and they have the ability to distance as much as you can. But we will have to look at that guidance. We're just trying to be reasonable and make sure no matter what, students are in school. Is any questions from the board on that right now, potential for the what or the potential how until we get firm guidance or recommended guidance? And most likely that recommended guidance will come so that we can make a final decision on the 17th from the board. Any questions? I will let, just for the interest of the audience, I have received several masking documentaries, so to speak, or letters, both for and against. No matter what, in this district, it's probably at best 50-50. Ultimately, it will come down to either directive or the board making the final determination. So please bear with us. Other than that, any other questions? We have, like we know, field band starting tonight. I think next week or the week after that, our varsity and JV sports start. Our modified sports do not start until I think the first or second week in September. But we are starting to get ready. I will appreciate the transportation director as he has been out hiring. We do have a good supply of bus drivers. We want to maintain that, but as such, we want to make sure everybody gets transported as safely as possible. If you choose to transport your children, please make sure you assist us so that we can get kids in and out by not waiting to deliver them to the front door. But once you get to the sidewalk, the students are able to walk in, and we'd ask for everybody's assistance. In general, we're trying to do the best we can with unknown circumstances, so we appreciate everybody's patience, understanding, and we will try to get the information to the parents and communities as fast as possible, just like we know all of our teachers want to have the kids back in person, but also as safely as possible. That concludes.
Moving on to item 6, under the President's report, we have item 6.02, the board subcommittees. at this meeting. These are not, we don't need to vote on these. There's 2 board committees. There's the audit committee or policy committee where everybody's placed on one of those committees except for the board president. And then there's a number of superintendent ad hoc committees too. So you'll see all the names on that. The meetings would probably start in August and definitely, if not August, September. So those are all squared away for this coming year. 6.03 and 04, no audit committee or policy meetings yet this year, so we're going to skip those. Moving on to item 7, under the finance actions tonight, we have recommended the board approves finance items 7.02 to 7.07. I need a motion to approve those.
Second.
Any questions or comments on any of the items there? 7.2 up to 7. Go ahead, Warren.
I have 2 questions. On 705, the resolution to increase contract approval authority, could you just give me a practical example of where that would come into play?
Go ahead.
So this is a resolution that was initiated last year before we started school with the idea as we were planning school reopening and various contracts that would need to be in place to respond to the pandemic. Current board policy has my contract approval authority at $5,000. Dr. Douglas is at $10,000. So in the interest of reacting quickly to some contracts, if we needed to get things in place in time for reopening, this resolution would allow Tom and I to exceed our current board policy authority for those items needed to implement reopening items.
Okay. So is it for all year or just for the reopening
It's through
concerns?
June 30th of 22, specific to those items of reopening. So typical contracts that can do a normal board process and can wait the time frame will still come to the board. These are just time-sensitive items needed to respond to COVID.
Okay, thank you. I do have one other question. I probably should know this, but could somebody review for me what the It's Learning is?
Mr. Gill.
So It's Learning is the the learning management system that we onboarded when COVID hit, when we went to remote for this past school year. We're continuing on for one more year, at which point we're going to transition to another learning management system. So it's where our teachers, it's a hyped up version of a Google Teams or Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams. It's an integration of online and where teachers have put their videos and their student work so that's available to students while on remote. And it's also, many of our staff want to continue in the paperless mode, and it's something that universities are doing more and more, and we'd be remiss if we didn't address that in our educational system for our students to be used to those programs when they go on to higher education. So,
thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Thank you. We'll move on to Section 8. I'd like to take an executive session to discuss a particular personnel matter. So the board, if approved, will leave the room temporarily and then return to continue the meeting. So could I have a motion to move to executive session?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Any abstentions? So we'll take a leave and then we will return to continue the meeting.
Oh, wait a minute. I can read one more.
Thank you for your patience. We're going to give everybody a minute or two to get the computers rolling again. Just a second. Okay, thank you again for being patient. We will move on to, I guess we need a motion to return to regular session, so I could get a motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Okay, thank you. So we move on to Section 8, the HR recommendations for tonight. Recommending the board approve the HR recommendations, which are listed in under 8.02. We need a motion to approve.
Second.
And 8.03, sorry about that, yep. Did I get a second?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Thank you guys for the vote. Dr. Douglas?
Yes. Mr. Litch, thank you. At this time, just so that we reiterate, the posting for the music position at this point will be going out for a halftime. We will canvass for the halftime music and full-time vocal. And then also, in addition, what will happen is, depending on the numbers, depending on what happens over the next couple of weeks, and if the numbers bump up as well because of recruitment, which I know everybody will be beating the drums on, we will look at that as well as the candidate pool, and if that has impact on it, to a full-time position at this point. So that's our plan going forward. Hopefully that helps. And as always, I want to thank the board for helping out the music program, and we will be addressing some other programmatic needs.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Douglas. I'd like, before we move on, I'd like to welcome two new additions to the Horsehead staff. We have Charles Tatay, who is our new Director of Athletics and Physical Education. Thank you for coming tonight. And then George McCall, thank you. He is the new Vice Principal at the high school. So thank you both for joining us.
They will both be starting next Monday.
Hopefully after the heat ends,
Yeah.
the heat wave. We will move on to item 9 tonight, the miscellaneous items for action. We have on the agenda 9:02 up to 9:08. Can I get a motion to approve?
Second.
Any questions or comments on any of those items? Warren?
So on 903, initially I need some clarity. When the contract came out, it came out with an email that said it's for the opening day speaker, but if you open the contract, it says for 10/8/21, so I'm assuming there's a conference day on 10/8/21, and the topic in the contract, I wrote it down, it's going to be a great year, part 2, so I'm assuming there had to be a part 1 somewhere, and I was curious where the part 1 was,
Sure.
And so I need an explanation of how that works, and then I might have some follow-up questions.
Sure. So first of all, the contracts as done through this agency do not require board approval. They're within the threshold of the superintendent to sign because they are underneath $10,000. So this is one of the 2 contracts that Tom will be signing for Mr. Vini to do work with our district. But because he's a return person that we've used in the past with success, that really our staff responded well to, we have contracted with him for 2 more times throughout this school year. You're seeing one of the contracts that will be with him. Again, it doesn't really require board approval, but it was important that the board see that we're working with this individual, and Tom wanted to speak, or I could speak to the work he does with us.
All right, so in total, he's going to do work 4 times?
He will be here opening day.
4 times or 2 times?
2 times.
Right now, 2 times.
Right now, 2 times.
All right, and is it the contract number stipulated for the contract I've read? Is it times 2? So is that the fee every time he shows up?
The fee is for a single visit. This is one of his single visits. It happens to be the second one he's doing for us. There is another contract that Tom will be signing for part one, which is the opening day.
And that'll be the same fee?
Correct.
All right. I mean, I guess philosophically, because I was in the system, I don't see the need for speakers, but I could be the only one that feels that way. But what you are is where you were when, which is a fancy way of saying your life experiences influence your thoughts. And maybe in the 35 years I was there, they never had a good speaker, and maybe this guy's fantastic. So I won't vote no on that, but I philosophically am opposed. Where's the money coming for this?
This comes out of our grant-funded money for the social-emotional piece that we're addressing as part of a larger. This isn't a one-and-done. Like I said, we've worked with this gentleman before. We'll continue to work with him. He does bring some benefit to and a lens that is has been useful to our staff, and it's someone that, again, starts to work through and works with our social-emotional piece at our 2 conference days and at our opening day.
Well, I mean, I went on his website, so I figured it was for the social-emotional part of it, and I read the background. Maybe not on this. I mean, I'll vote to approve it, even though I think it's a pretty steep fee. But maybe in the future, when we're looking at this kind of numbers, even though it's within our policy and the superintendent can do it, sometimes I think we should look at like a cost-benefit analysis or an opportunity cost. If we're going to spend this much money on this, maybe we should have a choice of something else and then have a robust discussion, speaker versus something else within the district that we might need, or a different way to approach this problem. So that's just a thought for the future.
Oh, no problem. Mr. Conklin, one of the things, just so that you know, this is through BOCES, so the cost benefit, just so that you know, is, what is it, 30% of the actual cost is borne by the district. The rest is aidable for roughly $1,500, $2,100. We get the rest back in aid on each one as far as that. And that way we try to do our best financials for the district, even though you see the larger numbers. That's why we utilize the BOCES services. That's where we get our most aid versus staffing. So that's always taken into consideration. And as Mr. Gill said, even though officially I didn't need to, I always try to be as open and straightforward with what we're doing. And this year, more than ever, our faculty and staff really responded well to Michael Vinny when he was here about unpacking our backpack and knowing where we are, that this year of all year, if we can help our staff to help our students, and that's some of the work he's going to do, along with various other speakers. And Tony, you want to talk about that throughout the year?
Yeah, we do have other more local-based speakers that will come into faculty meetings and work with staff as part of the social our wellness team. I do want to just address that, although the sum, you seem like you have a sticker shock there. That is not unusual for a nationally known speaker. And I understand you're talking about the give and gets and what we do. And Tom's point to the either using the grant-funded source money that's intentionally supposed to be spent in this way, or by using the BOCES aidability, we get that huge discount when we bring in these types of speakers, as long as another district is also using that speaker. So I get it. The sticker shock, it is something that's there, but that is not an unusual cost. So I just want to make sure that was known to the board and the community as far as that balance off. This does not discount all the other work, like I said, we're doing. We are trying to build capacity. That's always important as a district, whether it be in our curriculum work, and I think you've seen that, or I hope you're hearing about that, building the power within in our teams, in our curriculum teams, that we just bring in these individual experts that will come in throughout this school year too, and we'll be using grant-funded money with the intention that it's for that, to add, to build capacity within. We intend for Mr. Venny and others that will be working with our staff to help build capacity within, to move towards what you're saying, where we can have experts within the field to provide this. Sometimes it requires that outside view or source to move forward some parts of our district initiative and plan, and Mr. Vini will provide some of that. As far as into the future years, I'm not sure how we might use him. Again, we do what you do. We cost analysis on what's useful. Is this worth our money? Do we have the funds available?
And just one more added thing. Oftentimes, school districts get into a one and done or one half morning and done. We did not want to get into a one and done with something so critical as our social emotional state of our staff throughout the year, because that directly impacts our students. So that's why we are working with everybody to try to make sure this year, out of all years, we especially hit that hard.
I see that the audience is anyone who is employed by the district, so it's reaching out to young applicants, our board members.
Always. Opening day, remember,
Opening day.
everybody's here.
Well, this one's October, right?
Yes,
That's a conference day as well, yeah.
Yes, we'll have a couple different opportunities to interact with Mr. Vini.
We will get that in the update as the schedule becomes clear.
Any other questions from the board?
I have to comment on Mr. Thompson's comment. The classroom for many years, most of the time, I have to be honest, they did not look forward to speakers. Everybody wanted to just get in the classrooms and the photos. But I think, as you say, this is for emotional kind of things. It's been rough road for all of us there. And if we can address those kinds of things,
I can let you know when Mr. Vini was here in 2018, he did a presentation and then he did a Q&A session with our staff. And I had several emails and I can quote them. Best conference day ever. Thank you. They like the interaction. They don't want to sit and get. No student wants to sit and get. No learner wants to sit and get. And we know that as a system. So it's important to integrate this into some greater purpose in how we move forward as a district.
Right. And usually, unfortunately, they usually get me on opening day. They're going to get me for the honors of the years of service. And then, the kickoff just to get everybody ready, hopefully outside in the stadium. And then it's really going to be all about the staff, Michael Vini, and getting them back to their classrooms. And our local contractors are going to provide the full faculty with their lunches during that day in their buildings as well.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Thank you. Move on to item 12 tonight, board member comments. At the end of the meeting, any comments tonight from the board? Yes, Marianne.
I'd just like to thank the parents who came this evening to express their thoughts about the program and what's not easy to understand and speak and
If I can add the students too, I know there was a variety of different students in the audience, but it's never easy for a student just to get up there. They did a wonderful job, so thank you.
Any other comments? Marianne, you stole my comment, so I wanted to say the same thing. You said it very well, but thank you for coming tonight and stating your comments and concerns, so thank you. Kevin, question or comment?
I just want to direct my comment to Tom and the administrative team. I want to thank them so much. I believe that, like most people, we thought that coming into this year, we would be on more stable ground in terms of the pandemic and education. And I think it's going to be, if not the same level of tumultuous, it's going to be more. So I applaud Tom and the team for trying to make the best out of no guidance, and I hope that through good lobbying and pressure that the state will find the way to correct their bad decisions and get us back on track on a state level.
Thanks, Kevin. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we just need a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Thank you all for attending tonight.